Have you ever wanted to add potted plants to your home to add some decoration, but instead your plants look like this? Or do you have a lawn that you tend to regularly? What about wanting to have a garden so that you can have your own fresh fruits, vegetables, or herbs, but instead they look like this? If there was a way for you to know when specifically to water your plant to prevent over or underwatering, wouldn't that make things so much easier? Well, now you can with the sensor technology. You insert it into the soil and the data is sent directly to your phone in a mobile app. Also, did you know that watering these plants amounts to over 2/3 of the world's freshwater consumption? Although that total includes farming, household watering methods still account for 1/3 of water use. Currently on the market, there are several different sensors that can aid in tracking soil temperature, humidity, and moisture levels. These sensors have an LED light that turns on when a plant has adequate amounts of water in the soil already. This is convenient for houseplants, but the downside is that people aren't always around the plant monitoring whether or not the light is on. Most other sensors are for agriculture to let farmers know when they need to irrigate their crops. There is no commercially available soil moisture sensor that measures water directly. Instead, the sensors are able to detect how much water is in the soil through other factors like sunlight exposure, humidity, and moisture levels.
Now we are going to focus on how these sensors would be beneficial to the IS triangle. As it pertains to people from a user needs standpoint, this would not only allow customers who have never been able to successfully garden or keep a plant alive in their own home, but they would finally be able to have a lush garden and always know when to water it. Customers won't have to worry about if they are over or under watering anymore because the sensor technology will be able to show them when and how much to water based on the data it collects. They would simply place a sensor in their plant soil and then turn the sensor on. Once the sensor is on, they can access the data through a mobile app.
In order to create this sensor technology, we must identify how these sensors are going to work. Typically, soil moisture sensors do just as it sounds. They measure how much water moisture or water content is in the soil. It can also be sent to a data logger which stores this information on a piece of hardware, but most customers that garden don't want to mess around with a lot of technology, so transmitting this information in the cloud makes it easier for the user. Once in the cloud, when the user's phone is connected to the internet, the information can be stored in the app to monitor their plants. This app also syncs directly with weather apps to have real-time details about upcoming rainfall, dry periods, etc. When there is a storm predicted, the app will send a notification alert to say that you don't need to water your plant for the next few days. If there is a predicted storm, but the storm doesn't hit as expected, a notification alert will explain the situation and encourage you to water your plant as directed.
As for specific hardware to build this type of sensor, there are many sensor kits available, so purchasing this hardware isn't difficult. What will be challenging is having the sensor sync data to the cloud or the internet so that the important information can be available to the user from the app. From there, push notifications will need to be enabled so that the user is able to receive updates about how their plants are doing.
Here are a few pictures showing the sensor technology. As with any new emerging technology, there will be risks. The risk that could come from the sensors would be that they do not sync properly to the app, essentially defeating the ease of use for the customer. Another risk could be that the sensor malfunctions due to improper installation or the sensor being broken from the beginning and the user is unaware of this. As mentioned earlier, most gardeners are not familiar with the use of sensors, so they may not know if their sensor is working properly or not. This could create a smaller target market for the technology as the innovators or early adopters may be the only people who are inclined to using this until more information is made public.
The biggest benefit from this technology would be the conservation of fresh water. Although it would be a small amount that is saved, it all adds up in the grander scheme of things. Also, people who have wanted to have gardens and grow their own fresh produce can now do so. Along with keeping plants alive in their home for decoration, users will also be able to keep their lawns healthy and green.